So I just wanted to pop on here and share a little bit of encouragement. It is such a nice day. I'm literally roasting. I'm only sat by my window, and yeah, I'm just looking at the skies. It's absolutely beautiful today. So I hope everyone's enjoying the day. But I just wanted to just pop on and just share because I've been reading a book. My dad passed it on to me, and the book is super encouraging about a believer's life and how it needs to be. So the book is based on John 15, that talks about the vine and the branches, Jesus being the vine and us being the branches. And I have reread the chapter in such a different light. Like I think God works like that. Like you can read something and then you can read something again in the Bible over and over, and it's still new, and there's still different things that God wants to pull out of it from the text for you. And so I read it through, prayed over it, and then I started reading the book. So the book's called A Fruitful Life, and I just want to draw out a few, just for a couple of minutes, just a few of the things that I have seen in a new perspective, in a new light. So obviously as a Christian, like, it's so important to be connected by relationship. Like what we believe as Christians isn't religion, it's a faith. So like it's so important because faith, when you don't see something, it can be so hard to sometimes trust. But like I always think of the demonstration, like if you sit on a chair, like you trust it's going to hold you, like, and like in the Christian walk, it is a walk by faith and not by sight. Like it is trusting the Bible and what it is, and it's sometimes not always knowing the answers. Like there's a lot of things I still don't know or know what I think about, or think, wow, like that happened in the Old Testament, like how does that work? But so I just want to talk about how specifically for your faith, like it's so important to be connected to the vine, which is Jesus. So like the vine represents Jesus, and how important it is to be able to live a life for him. In order to live a life for him, we have to be connected. So we are the branches, and I think when we talk about fruit, we often, this is the first thing one of the first things I drew out. When we think about fruit, we think about how many people we're like bringing to the Lord, like how many people we are making Christians, like how many people are saved by what we do, and sometimes we can limit our fruit in that sense. Like we can think, oh, like I'm not confident, I'm not like one of these street preachers or whatever, like probably no one's come to the Lord through me. But then like that is not just fruit. Like there are so many different aspects of fruit, like the fruit of the Spirit, like love, gentleness, patience, all self-control. Those are all fruits that people can see in our life. And so like I first of all want to say, like if you feel discouraged about that, in the respect that, okay, I don't feel like I'm bold or whatever, I don't feel like people come to know the Lord through me, I just feel like I'm probably not saved anymore. Like I beat myself up about that sometimes, but we have to remember, like, that is not just fruit. And also when we think like that, that's also not the way God would want us to think. We have to remember that we are always planting seeds, like from what we do, from what we say, how we act, how we love one another, how we rebuke, out of like whatever it is. Jesus can use that, and he can plant seeds. So like, yeah, don't be discouraged with that, because I think we often beat ourselves up about that, and God doesn't want us to. So so that's the first thing. Like, don't measure your fruit by how many people you're saving. The next thing is in chapter 1 it talks about by fruit, this means it's the outward expression of the life of God within. And I thought that was so key to like understanding fruit. And so I'll read it again. By fruit we mean the outward expression of the life of God within. And I think when we have a deep relationship with God, fruit just flows out. It's not like we're being self-righteous, like, oh, like we're so good, like it just flows, like everybody can see Jesus in me. Like, it's not like that. It's without even realising that God is always at work, and it's the outward expression of your inward relationship with Christ, and it's all about within. Like, the word within kept coming up to me. So yeah, I just wanted to emphasize on that. Like, by fruit we mean the outward expression of the life of God within. So like, when our life with Jesus, when our heart is satisfied, and when we are right with Jesus in that respect, the fruit will just pour out. People will see Jesus in our lives, which is what we want them to see. And then finally, I just want to talk about just looking at my notes because I ramble. You know what? I think that was all I had to say. Oh no, there was one thing. So for me, I'm the type of person. Oh, I can't even see myself on the screen because it's so bright. So I'm the type of person that sometimes I can want to do something so bad, like that I'm like, oh, like I want to do this for God, or I want like to get that done, or yeah, it can almost become like you don't sometimes realise that your flesh or yourself is the one doing the talking, and that it's actually not God. Like, we can think it's God, but it can actually be us. Like, how many times in life have we thought to ourselves, like, as believers, oh, I'm going to go do that because that's God's work, He would want me doing that. Yes, but have you stopped and prayed about it? Like, I remember when I went into hairdressing, and I know God used that season of my life, but I went into it thinking, oh, this is what I'm passionate about, this is my gift. Like, I went into it like that, but did I actually stop and be like, is this where you're going to bear most fruit for me, Lord? Like, did I actually stop and reflect on that? I think maybe I went wrong in that sense, but you know, God uses everything, and yeah, He's faithful to bring us back. But yeah, so like, I just want to emphasize on, like, authentic fruit comes from following and listening and having that dedicated life to Him, to listening to Him, to praying, to reading His word. Sometimes we can get like, I want to do this for the Lord, but it's like, hang on, like, God's actually not going to use that as much because you're not as surrendered to Him. You need to be surrendered to Him for Him to use you. So yeah, I totally recommend reading John 15, like, and this book has just shown me so much, and I'm only on like chapter 4, and yeah, so I just want to encourage believers, like, if you do feel just beat up about what you're doing with your life or whatever, or you're not bearing fruit, like, just come back to John 15 and read it and dwell on it and pray over it, because fruit is measured on so many levels. Like, fruit, like, I don't think people realise, but just by smiling at someone and acting the way Jesus, like, that's fruit. Like, by going out and helping someone, like, if they, like, whatever it is, it's fruit. And I think things naturally come out of us. I think we tend to look at the bad, we tend to look at the negative, but yeah, we shouldn't, because God is always at work in us, and I think we do forget that. I know I do. And I think if we're not doing something, it feels like we're not producing fruit, but God is always at work. And I'm just going to read that sentence again. By fruit we mean the outward expression of the life of God within. And when our life within, in our hearts, when it is satisfied with Jesus, that is when the most fruit is going to come, because we're going to want to do His work, and we're going to do it with Him at the first and foremost starting point. I think that made sense. Sometimes I just have so much I want to say, and like, blah, comes out. But yeah, I hope that blesses you and encourages you. Let's go bear fruit.